You know, when you take a look at this trade, who won on this side? Is it the Dallas Mavericks or is it the Lakers?
It's the Dallas Mavericks.
Breaking news out of the NBA, the Mavericks are expected to fire general manager Nico Harrison at 10 a.m. Central Time.
I just feel like they got robbed of actually seeing the end, seeing this through, seeing Luka develop, into hopefully a champion one day. And it feels like they never got to see the end to this. So this was very heartbreaking. And but now it's, I think it's time to move.
When someone like Dirk Nowitzki, a player who gave Dallas nearly 2 decades of loyalty, finally speaks out like this, you know the situation has hit rock bottom. Dirk has never been the type to stir drama, point fingers, or talk trash. He stays above the noise. That's why what he said on Tuesday carried so much weight. It wasn't just criticism. It sounded like a farewell address to a front office that had completely lost its direction. And honestly, he wasn't wrong. To understand why this moment mattered so much, you have to rewind a bit. February was supposed to mark the beginning of something special for Dallas. Less than a year earlier, the Mavericks had been in the NBA Finals. Luka was carrying the team with true superstar force, and for the first time in years, the roster around him actually made sense. Dallas had size, defense, and athleticism. They added high flyers like Daniel Gafford and Derek Lively, and then brought in Klay Thompson to fix the shooting issues that had been exposed against Boston. On paper and on the court, everything was lining up. The season got underway, and the Mavericks were rolling. Heading into Christmas, they had gone 14-3 over their last 17 games. They weren't just winning, they looked dangerous at exactly the right time. The entire vibe changed when Luka went down with an injury. At the time, it felt like a temporary setback. Nobody knew it would be the final time he ever put on a Mavericks uniform. That moment became the turning point, because shortly after, general manager Nico Harrison made the decision that shocked the entire league, blowing everything up and trading Luka to the Lakers. That move didn't just end a season, it ended an era. And it's why even Dirk Nowitzki finally felt compelled to speak.
Sense to them, and really there was no explanation for it either. You go to the finals the year before, you give up all these assets to build really the team around.
Your superstar leads you to the NBA Finals. The roster finally clicks. Fans are energized. Momentum is real. And instead of building on that success, the front office trades him away for Anthony Davis, a player who has struggled with injuries for years. That decision alone stunned the fan base, but the details of the trade only made it harder to swallow. The Lakers received Luka Doncic, Maxi Kleber, and Markieff Morris. Dallas got Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a 2029 first-round pick. Some fans tried to talk themselves into believing it could work if Anthony Davis stayed healthy, but let's be honest, everyone in Dallas knew exactly what they were signing up for. And what happened next played out exactly as expected. Davis arrived and immediately began breaking down. Out of a possible 42 games, he's played just 14. Even that number is misleading because he left 2 of those games early. In reality, he has only finished 12 full games in a Mavericks uniform. Worse, he hasn't played 5 straight games for Dallas even once. At the same time, Kyrie Irving hasn't touched the floor all season. Klay Thompson looks like a shell of the player he once was. The team that was supposed to contend for a championship is now fighting just to stay afloat in the playoff picture. That's how quickly everything unraveled. This is where Dirk Nowitzki enters the story. When news broke on Tuesday that Dallas had finally fired general manager Nico Harrison, Dirk went on television and spoke more bluntly than fans had ever heard him before. He said flat out that the move should have happened in the summer, not halfway through the season after the damage was already done. Months earlier, Dirk had already hinted that something felt off. He talked about distractions, constant drama, and a dark cloud hanging over the team before the season even began. The most damning part was when Dirk said the trade never made sense and that no one ever gave a clear explanation for it. When asked directly why the move had to happen, Dirk didn't protect anyone. He put the entire decision-making process under a spotlight. This is a man who spent 21 years as the perfect teammate, the quiet leader, and the face of the franchise, and even he couldn't defend what happened. What Dirk really exposed was this. Dallas had spent years building around Luka. They traded assets, drafted well, and constructed a roster full of switchable wings, defensive specialists, and lob threats. They addressed the weaknesses that cost them the finals. The fans were fully bought in. The city was alive again. And just as everything finally came together, Nico Harrison tore it all apart like none of it ever mattered.
We have is really elite, and you'll see next year when our team comes back, we're going to be competing for a championship.
Washington straight line drive. And so the Pelicans. Black turns down the three. Oh! Klay Thompson lost it. So at this point, the mission is obvious.
Fire Nico! Fire Nico! Fire Nico!
Dirk Nowitzki said the fans feel robbed, and he's absolutely right. They never got to see the end of Luka's story in Dallas. They never found out whether he would grow into a champion with the franchise that drafted him and built around him. That opportunity was taken away, abruptly and permanently. And the person responsible wasn't an opponent or bad luck. It was their own general manager. But Dirk's frustration goes deeper than just losing Luka. It's also about what Dallas received in return. Anthony Davis isn't just injury-prone, he's a massive question mark carrying one of the heaviest contracts in the league. Davis is making $54 million right now. That number jumps to $58 million next season, then to $63 million in 2027. By 2028, he'll still be on a top 5 contract league-wide. That's superstar money for a player who struggles to stay on the floor for more than a few games at a time, and who is only getting older. Davis is already deep into his mid-30s, approaching year 15 of his career. Even during his New Orleans days, when he was younger and healthier, he was never the model of reliability or leadership. He didn't elevate those Pelicans teams the way true franchise cornerstones do. Fast forward a decade, with more mileage, more injuries, and more wear on his body, and now he's expected to be the centerpiece of a title contender. That just doesn't add up. The scariest part is that Davis's trade value may never be higher than it is right now. If Dallas holds on to him for another year or two, no team is going to want that contract. The Mavericks could end up stuck paying a 35-year-old injury-prone big man over $60 million a year just to watch games from the sideline. The comparison to Kawhi Leonard is impossible to ignore. Both players are elite when healthy. Both bounce from team to team without ever establishing real roots. Every season starts with hope. This could be the year. And every season ends the same way, with injuries and disappointment. Look at the Clippers with Kawhi. Instead of lifting them, he's weighed them down. Always promise, never pay off. If Dallas keeps Anthony Davis through 2027 and 2028, they're signing up for Kawhi 2.0 all over again. Dirk sees it coming. That's why he's speaking up now. And yet, the Anthony Davis situation is only...
Phone has been blowing up. Why did this move have to happen?
Well, I think there's just too many distractions, too much going on to keep going this way. This move should have probably happened this summer, honestly. I didn't want this negative energy and this black cloud over the Cooper Flag era, but here we are.
In the NBA, that kind of roster mix almost never works. You can't chase a championship while half your team is trying to win right now and the other half still needs years to develop. You have to pick a lane. History has made that painfully clear. Teams built around stars in their 30s rarely win championships anymore. And when franchises try to live in two eras at the same time, they crash every single time. That's exactly what Dallas is doing right now. The Mavericks are trying to squeeze wins out of aging veterans while pretending they're also building for the future, and it's blowing up in their face. If you're a Dallas fan, the evidence is right in front of you. Anthony Davis goes down every other week. Kyrie Irving hasn't played all season. Klay Thompson is struggling just to stay afloat. At some point, the answer becomes obvious. Scrap the veteran era and move on. The reset should start with the young core, specifically the Cooper Flag timeline. That group actually has upside. There's only one veteran worth keeping, Kyrie Irving. When healthy, he still has real game left. He can score, lead, and mentor the young players while helping them grow. But the other decisions are harder and necessary. Klay Thompson needs to be let go. He's no longer the player he once was, and holding on to him for nostalgia makes no sense during a rebuild. The most urgent move is Anthony Davis. His trade value is still somewhat respectable right now, but it's dropping fast. If Dallas waits another year or two, that contract will be unmovable. Trading him now, whether for young players, draft picks, or flexibility, is the only way to build a stable future. Keeping Davis means choosing a short-term fantasy over long-term success, and that's a losing formula. Cooper Flagg doesn't need to be Luka 2.0, and he never will be. That's perfectly fine. Flagg has the tools to become a multi-time All-Star and a legitimate franchise cornerstone in his own lane. More importantly, fans can grow with him. Dallas fans don't have any real emotional connection to Anthony Davis. He's been a Pelican, a Laker, and now a Maverick. He's a mercenary passing through. Dallas isn't his city, and everyone knows it. Why would fans invest their hearts in a player who may be gone or broken down in 2 years? The smart move is to let Davis go now and build something that actually belongs to Dallas. That's what Dirk Nowitzki was really talking about on Tuesday. His comments weren't just basketball analysis, they were about respect. Respect for the fans who have endured every high and low. Respect for the city. Respect for the franchise he gave 2 decades of his life to. When Dirk said the move should have happened in the summer, what he really meant was that the trade never should have happened at all. The black cloud he described wasn't just bad vibes. It was the shadow of a front office mistake that undercut everything the